In today's video, we will talk all about the AI crypto trend happening right now. So we have already covered the main catalyst for this second wave of AI and crypto crossover interest. And that is because Nvidia's GTC event is happening on March 18th until March 21st. And this is the biggest AI event of the year, even bigger than all of the OpenAI releases, because the current narrative that is driving the crypto market when it comes to AI is all around DePin, or in other words, decentralized physical networks. So these are projects that specifically focus on matching the supply and demand of GPU and CPU power in order to meet AI demand that is currently lacking, that is currently exceeding the supply of GPU and hardware power in the market. So we'll get into a bunch of AI projects today, especially for the DePin sector. And as you might notice in our title and thumbnail, we're not going to talk about the most popular coins that everyone already knows that has been trading since forever. All of those have pumped up a lot with this AI interest. However, I do think the altcoins I will mention today will have a lot of opportunities, especially not only because they are relatively earlier, but also because they tackle the real advantage vector of what is missing in the AI/DePin sector, which is the supply and demand curve. So we'll get into all of that today. Okay. If you're new here on the channel, welcome. My name is Dennis. I'm a crypto angel investor for the past 5 years, and I have invested in over 100 crypto startups. On this channel, I share my views on market trends and investing strategy to build wealth in crypto. Now, let's get into a brief overview of what I will be focusing on for today, and that is in DePin. So you guys know that there are certain types of projects that people already cover very, very extensively. For example, Render, right? The leading DePin project for not only AI, but for graphics, rendering, what have you. Akash, another leader in the exact same space. We also have Filecoin, which is a little bit towards storage power, but also they have their CPU and GPU power as well. And you have also, of course, BitTensor, the leading decentralized AI network. So these are all some of the most popular AI coins that people already talk about very, very extensively. And we have already covered these three coins deep on the channel. This was 4 months ago. I was heavily accumulating those back in November, December, because the upside was still there. But however, if you look at them today, that is really not the case anymore. So Render, right, when we were heavily talking about it back in November, this was in the $1 to $2 range. Even $3 was fine, but today that's at 11 now. So I don't have to say much there. It's at $6 billion market cap. Is there going to be more upside? Sure, as long as AI is popular, these are the market leaders, so they should continue to get beta exposure to to that whole narrative. Similarly, Akash right now trades at $5.90. This has been one of the longest time interest on our channel. I believe we first started to cover it in summer 2023 when it was like around that $1 range. But now, $5.9, 2.2 billion market cap, it is what it is, right? Of course, we have BitTensor, 14 billion FDV, 4 billion circulating. So you get the point. You can get into these larger coins, but I don't think the upside is there anymore if you're looking for like a 10x gain. So that's the gist of this. And on the fundamentals side, all of these projects, they came onto the market very early and really tried to tackle the demand side. So what I mean by that is Render and Akash, they came on to the scene very early and with an assumption, and that is that many people have either idle computing power, GPU, CPU, or they have mining hardware that tends to do useless work. And eventually, there will be a demand for all of these machines. So by using decentralized crypto and the economy of crypto tokens, you can connect the supply and demand side. And that's why, because they came up earlier in the scene, they tackled the demand side first. So today, Render and Akash do have a lot of machines. They have a lot of computing power, GPUs, But when it comes to the demand and what they actually serve, that isn't so high, right? So that's the first major area that I think could be disruptive with new AI DePin projects. And second is that Render and Akash, when they first came up, AI wasn't so heavily demanded. And what that means is that they tend to tackle a little bit wider audience in terms of demand. So their inventory of machines, as we'll cover more in today's video, their inventory of machines tend to be wide range of machines. Even going to things like retail GPUs like your RTX or GTX, right? Like 4080, 4070, 3070, etc. And then when you go up the list, you have like your I believe it's like A10, A40, A100, H100. But when it gets to the higher tiers, those are the real demanding machines that the AI companies, the AI traditional tech giants, Google, Amazon, Apple, everyone is going to accumulate in order to make their AI subsidiary companies competitive. So that is where the true hole in demand is. And these earlier guys, they don't necessarily have that to support it. So that is why these two areas are the fundamental areas that I think new DePin projects can have a competitive advantage on. And that is why we're going to cover these 4 projects today that I'll bring up in the list that I do think have unique advantages in these 2 areas. So before we get into that, really quickly, there are 2 altcoins that we have already covered. If you just want some straight up, altcoin alpha, that I still think certain altcoins fit into this Nvidia AI hype wave and are still relatively underdiscovered and undervalued. So they are Near Protocol and Arweave. So we have already covered both of these on our channel for this month. So in our top 3 altcoins to buy video in March, we covered my thesis on Arweave. So basically the new release of AOD computer. This is, again, tackling the demand problem. So Arweave already had this huge layer of DePin for storage, but they never really had the demand. So the applications that you can build on there is very limited. But now with this AOD computer, it's truly next-gen computing that sits directly on top of their DePin network. So that's with Arweave. And for the case of Near, we covered this on the last live stream that we did. So essentially, the main catalyst for Near is that Near is in a very unique position because the founder of Near and the entire Near project actually comes from a deep machine learning research background. And the founder of Near, Ilya, is actually one of the co-authors of the Transformers paper, which is often hailed as the groundwork for modern machine learning. And he's going to be doing a presentation alongside the CEO of CEO of Nvidia, Jensen Huang, at Nvidia GTC. So a lot of people are speculating something's going to be announced, or they're going to be moving heavily into AI. I don't think this event will necessarily only focus on Near, because there are so many other things happening. But I do think if they are going to come up and Near Protocol is going to go more towards an AI approach, I think the timing is now. So that is why I have been accumulating Near quite publicly. This is when we covered it on stream, but we also covered this in our Discord. So if you are not in our Discord, you should definitely join. But essentially, we have already been accumulating Near back here. So in that $4.50 to $5 range, this was a killer buy in my eyes. And you see Near just continue to run after leaving this range. So now it's at $7.80. Pretty crazy run, actually. However, when you consider previous all-time high, I think going into this AI narrative, I'm expecting at least $10 plus. Looking at all other trending layer ones, right? AVAX, we have Solana, we have Phantom is also making a comeback, right? So Near is often in the same conversation and being that top 5 layer 1 projects with huge backing and actually a very solid development team. I think now that AI is the major trend that all chains are trying to catch on to. Near is going to finally have their light in that layer 1 ecosystem. So this is why, I think this cycle, if it's going to be like an AI driven cycle, Near most likely will make a new all-time high. And when it comes to like how Near did last cycle, they didn't do that well. They really came up to the scene relatively later than the early comers like Polkadot, Solana, Matic, Avalanche, Algorand, all the others. And those all did much, much better. Near really did too heavily on their own technology, and because they weren't supporting EVM, they didn't have a major high valuation by the end of the cycle. So this is why I think Near will be kind of a 2-cycle coin, where the second cycle for this coin most likely will overtake its first cycle. So that's why I have a very heavy Near position, and I'll continue to hold it at least after this month, by the end of this AI wave, and let's see what actually happens to Near afterwards, what their fundamental factors will be after. Okay, so these are the 2 main already live and trading coins that I think like short term are very interesting. Now, I do want to bring your attention to 4 upcoming AI and DePin projects that I think really have real potential this year. So they are all very targeted at AI and DePin narrative. So let me just bring this up. The first one on the list we have covered on our last video as well. It's called GamerCoin. Now, don't let the name deceive you. This is where the real alpha is, because this isn't some like gaming coin, where it has very little to do with gaming. So GamerCoin is the currency behind this platform called GamerHash, which is essentially a platform that allows retail GPU owners, so essentially powerful gaming PC owners, gamers, to share their computing power and earn tokens, right? This has been the longest running idea in the space. Now, this website and their whole branding, this is like 3 years old at this point. But what they do really well is really they have that demand side locked out. Because when you think about things like Render and Akash, these are all supply side networks. They have a large supply of GPUs, but they really don't have exposure to real users, right? That is where a project like GamerHash comes in, because what they do really well is penetrate the retail gaming audience. And because they already have so many people that are savvy gamers, that know how to leverage their GPU power, their gaming PC power, what they are now finally trying to do is pivot their entire thing into a consumer-focused AI and DePin platform. So think about this, right? When you harness this entire grid of existing gamers and people that already provide their GPU power and use it to either do some things with their GPU or actually start to earn, you have this existing user base that can easily tap into all the other advanced use cases of GPU. For example, you have cloud gaming, you have 3D rendering, you have like LLM models. So these are things like ChatGPT. You have, of course, like image generation models, like generative AI, like Midjourney. All of these current popular AI models you can directly plug into. And this is, remember, this is consumer facing. That is the main difference that they have versus like Render and Akash, which is enterprise facing. So as far as I see in the space, really nobody has targeted consumer facing, like demand facing AI applications at this scale before. And this is why I'm actually really bullish on this Gamer coin. The name is so silly. They really need to do some rebrand around this name. This is really much more at a retail focused and consumer focused portal to the world of decentralized AI and DePin. That is where hopefully their new branding can convey. So ignore what the coin says, ignore what the ticker says. That is like 3 years old at this point for their project. So this is essentially what Gamercoin and GamerHash is. Now, what is the potential here? Very simple, right? This coin only valued at $130 million in market cap right now. Fully diluted valuation. And when you consider how much is circulating, out of that 808 million tokens, 650 million of that is already circulating. So the tokenomics of this is honestly fantastic, right? And you see this has been reflecting given this current DePin wave, right? When DePin finally got popular by the end of 2023, people have been slowly catching on, right? People that know about this project and know that it's not a gaming focused coin. It's truly a consumer-facing AI and DePin project. People have been slowly accumulating this, and this has just been climbing very steadily. And I don't expect this to stop anytime soon because consider the valuation. This is still miles behind all the other heavily inflated valuations of the other DePin projects. And you can go ahead and try their apps today. So if you are a traditional, gamer and you have done mining before, you can try their mining app, or you can try their AI GamerHash AI app, which is essentially their consumer-facing AI app that incorporates things like ChatGPT, things like image generation models, all these AI tools directly on top of their DePin network. Okay, so that is GHX. Again, going back to our two theses, right? You either have to tackle the real demand side for DePin by reaching users instead of only gathering GPUs, or you need to have actually high tier supply of GPUs that nobody else has, right? Okay, so with that in mind, let's get into our second project on this list, Aethir. So Aethir, I believe I have already covered this briefly before. They are a distributed GPU cloud infrastructure for gaming and AI. Now, this is obviously the exact same pitch, exact same headline that you would have seen a lot of places already. But what's really cool about Aethir is that they don't care about the supply, right? You can have your Render, you can have your Akash, whatever. You can have like 10,000 like RTX 4080s, but if nobody uses them, it doesn't matter, right? The ecosystem wouldn't work. What Aethir really focuses on is the supply side. Who can they actually onboard in order to tap into these resources? And the two areas that they really focus on is gaming and AI. So going down here, you see, how do you use a decentralized GPU network for gaming? Cloud-based porting and early game testing. What does that look like? Cloud-based gaming is actually one of the biggest industries in the world right now. If you guys have heard of Nvidia GeForce Now, this is a service that Nvidia has released at this point like 7-8 years ago, where anyone that have a very strong internet connection but not a powerful PC, they can pay Nvidia a flat fee per month in order to access a cloud gaming PC that have very low latency because they have, as long as you have good internet, and you can play on there all these AAA gaming titles, right, directly on their super PC on the cloud. So as long as you don't play very competitive like FPS games, all other types of games will work, right? Open world games, RPG, like Monster Hunter, your MMOs, whatever it is, as long as it's not like super high demand on the latency, it will work really well. And I have personally used GeForce Now when I was in my college days, right? When I only had a computer and a laptop, and I wanted to still do some gaming, and not competitive gaming, but casual gaming. This worked really well. So this is what cloud gaming and cloud-based porting of games is. We see this whole trend around Steam with Steam Link and Steam Deck as well. So this is the biggest area that they're targeting. And guess what? When I say they have serious supply side figured out, they really, demand side figured out, they really do. Because look at the traction research for Aethir. So they have projected $20 million of annualized recurring revenue as of Q1 this year. And they have contracts with the world's largest gaming studio for $5 to $7 million of annualized recurring revenue with 150 million monthly active player base. That is crazy, right? Now they haven't released who these partners are, but I would actually imagine this is like some seriously big AAA game that is actually porting their game into Aethir's decentralized gaming network. Sorry, not decentralized gaming, decentralized GPU network that can host cloud gaming for any games. And not only for gaming, right? They also have partnership contract with WellLink for $5 to $7 million annualized recurring revenue. Again, the largest cloud gaming company with over 64 million monthly active users. They have contract with the world's largest telecom company for 5 million ARR. So again, another similar 10 additional contracts in the gaming space expected to close this quarter. This is what truly sets them apart, right? Remember, when you look at this kind of pitch, sure, they're in the same niche as Render, but Render only provides those GPUs. They don't care about who is going to use them, which means if you don't incentivize, if you don't actively chase those players and those major games to migrate to your decentralized GPU network, your network doesn't function that well. It's driven by basically just like a lot of hype. And if nobody actually picks up those GPUs to use, it doesn't work, right? And that's where Aethir is diving head first into the other side of the equation, which is the demand side. Who is actually going to come in and use these GPU clouds? So that's why I'm actually very bullish on Aethir. I am a angel investor in this project. In fact, I have invested in this project over 1.5 years ago, deep in the bear market, because they first came to me with this pitch that we're going to do things very differently. We don't care about how many GPUs we can get. We care about how many people and which games are actually going to use these GPUs. That is the big difference. And that's what got me excited about them. And that's why I decided to support them. Now, if you guys are interested in this project, they haven't listed their token yet, but they will have a node sale coming later this month. So here you can see the timeline for them. So on March 14th, they will start to have a whitelisted sale. And by March 20th, they will have a public sale. So this is actually a very open structure where you can try to get in earlier, but it wouldn't make much of a difference. Basically, everyone can get in at a public level from the ground up. And this kind of a structure, what's called a node sale, is very similar to another project called Zai. So Zai did a very similar sale where they released essentially up to 50,000 of these Sentry nodes. And what this does is it allows people to become a part of the network to help secure the network's transactions. And in return, you will start to earn their Zai tokens every month, right? Sorry, not every month, every block. So you can think of it like, getting into the token early by participating in the network, but also just very similar to a public sale format. And as you guys know, Zai node sale did really well. They actually listed on Binance after, and they have a very similar structure for the Aethir node sale. So if you guys are interested in this, make sure to follow me on Twitter. I'll be dropping more links for that. And if you guys are following me either on Twitter, on Telegram, or if you're in our Discord with the link in the description, you will get all the details on this. So I will be making another video detailing how you can get into this once the public sale opens. But if you are interested in the private, like whitelisted portion, make sure to join our community. I'll try to share, what you can do early in order to reach out to the team to get a whitelist spot. And also, even if you're only interested in the public portions, make sure to follow me in our socials as well, because we will have a special discount code that can give you 10% discount. Okay, so that's the second project that we wanted to cover for today, Aethir. The third one, we also have covered very extensively on this channel before, and that is GPU.net. Again, I am an angel investor in this project, going as far as, I believe it was 1 year ago. So GPU.net is aiming to become actually the highest tier GPU provider in existence, right? Decentralized GPU provider in existence, with larger supply of high tier, top of the level GPUs, even bigger supply than Render and Akash. Now, they're not like Aethir or GamerHash where they target the demand side. Instead, they actually compete on the supply side. However, the only main thing that you need to know about them that truly sets them apart is their supply of high-tier GPUs. So you see here, GPUNet envisions to have 1 million GPUs on the platform by 2030 with over 600 units of Nvidia A100 available already today. Now, this is what really sets them apart, because the top of the line GPUs, the two terms you need to know is Nvidia H100, which is pretty much the holy grail of GPUs today. I believe like it costs like $100,000 or something to even get one. A100 is like just below. I believe it's like $20,000 per piece. And these are truly, truly high demand. In fact, like most people, you cannot even buy them, even if you have a lot of money. So you see this, they have even covered like why there's this shortage. So basically, Nvidia H100 and A100 GPUs have all been shipped out and directly to the tech giants' warehouses, right? You see here, the largest shipments are to Meta, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Oracle, Tencent, like TikTok, Tesla, whatever, right? Alibaba, Baidu. So they capture actually 80% of the existing GPU supply when it comes to H100 and A100s. So that is why when you compare the supply of GPUNet to the supply of things like Render and Akash, sure, they don't have as wide reach when it comes to like lower tier GPUs, like the retail focusing GPUs, but the high tiers, they are actually number one today. And that is what truly sets them apart. That is why they're named GPUNet. They understand this, where the core supply crunch is actually happening. And that is actually only with these high-end models. And that is the only things that they're targeting. So this is why I believe these guys will be one of the only suppliers of top-line GPUs that is actually usable for enterprise-level AI. And once this supply actually comes in from the AI side, everyone will start to run out of supply, and then people will truly realize that, okay, GPUNet actually has the biggest supply here. So very similar to Aethir, this project hasn't launched yet. However, they will be having a node sale on March 21st. So if you guys are interested in that, again, follow me on socials, Twitter, Telegram, Discord. All three of those, I'll be sharing exactly how to get into this. And again, this is a very similar style to Aethir. It will be a public node sale. Everyone can participate, completely open and transparent structure. Okay, so that's on GPUNet. And last but not least, one last project that actually has a lot to do with Render, Akash, and Filecoin and Solana is IONet. So this is an upcoming access layer to the supply of GPUs on Render and Filecoin. So IONet is this essentially a AI, so what do you call it? AI model training, model inference, and API layer that sits on top of the largest DePin networks out there, like Render and Filecoin. So what these guys do is that you can see on their dashboard here. Right now, if you want to rent a GPU on Render or Filecoin, if you go to their networks directly, it's kind of complicated, right? You don't know, okay, which machines you're getting. You don't know what the prices are, and you don't have a very easy way, even if you're a developer, to access them, right? You don't have an API layer. You have to essentially like make your own machines work with the cloud GPUs on their network in order to like, you have to deal with a lot of infra stuff before you even get into their applications. Now, what IONet does is that it groups everything together when it comes to even like things like a network map. So you can see, okay, which machines am I renting from? if you're worried about latency, what kind of machines am I renting? So again, back into that supply picture here, am I getting a RTX 3060, like a classic gaming GPU? Am I getting things like Apple silicon, like M2, right? Or can I filter for something like Nvidia GPU, right? And then I search for like A100, and you see here, yeah, this is interesting, right? Current quantity available, Nvidia A100, 80 gigabyte. There's a clear shortage here. And this is talking about like how much render actually has, right? So you see that the supply here is tiny compared to, again, like GPUNet that we talked about earlier. So you start to realize, okay, like you can pick and choose, you can figure out what you can, which machines are actually available on which decentralized GPU network. And it gives you an API access layer that you can directly plug into. So that is what IONET does. And they are actually officially partnered with both Filecoin and Render. So for Filecoin, they have already presented this entire partnership at the Filecoin Summit, right? How they are going to have this AI compute access layer on top of Filecoin's GPU network. And they have a partnership with Render already. So IONET used to be called Antbit.io, but now they have rebranded to IONET. So you see here, this is Render Network's improvement proposals. And this proposal number 4 was essentially incorporating Antbit.io, which is IONET, as the compute client for Render Network's GPUs, right? So here you see, explaining this perfectly, at the base of Render Network is a network of GPUs capable of blah, blah, blah. In order to better serve these new use cases around AI, machine learning, training, and inference, Antbit.io, or IONET, is a protocol launching alongside this framework, seeking to leverage the supply side of Render and then providing this access layer. And they allow developers to easily deploy, open source Python distributed compute frameworks and for other AI frameworks directly on top of Render Network and Filecoin. So that is what IONET does. And this project also hasn't launched yet, but I believe it is soon. So because DePin is so popular, this project, like, they don't really have their own supply, so to speak, but they are at the intersection of two of the largest GPU supply networks out there, Render and Filecoin, and they are also built on Solana with an official partnership with Solana. So all the intersections are there. So I do think this project will also do quite well. Okay, so that is IONET. Think of it like the aggregator layer for DePin. And that's it. So these 4 projects, Gamercoin, GamerHash, right, Aethir, GPUNet, and IONET. These 4 projects, I really believe, are where the real problems are being solved in DePin today, and because they're really not that established in the market yet, so you have that advantage of getting into things earlier at the ground up, versus with such heavy AI speculated trend right now, things like Render, Akash, BitTensor, Filecoin, these things will continue to run, but they are getting pretty ridiculous in their valuations now. Okay, so that's it. That's everything I wanted to cover for today. Again, nothing against these like established players, but because they are a bit older in the market, they are more accessible. They're listed everywhere. People know about all of them. But the downside is that they don't have that much more to innovate on, right? They just serve as the supply side of GPUs. And now we have to tackle the real problem of who is going to use these GPUs? How do you get exposure of these GPUs to retail users, for example, on GamerHash, Gamercoin, or to the real, huge AAA level games and telecom networks that are deploying on top of these decentralized GPU networks, such as on Aethir. That is the real problem being solved, and that's why I'm bullish on these projects. So that's it for today. If you guys are interested in some of the upcoming projects for their node sales, make sure to follow me on 3 things. Number 1 is our Twitter, at VirtualBacon0x, right? You can follow me right here. This is where I drop day-to-day alpha, as well as node sales, public sale alerts that I'll be dropping on Twitter, because you really have to catch those things quick. They usually run out 3 to 5 days. So it doesn't really make sense to be made into a very dedicated video, because that video will expire in a week. It doesn't make sense. And second, you can actually follow me on Telegram. We have a Telegram channel. You can find it with the link in the description, or go to virtualbacon.com. And if you want more in-depth analysis, trade alerts, as well as my alpha on which coins I'm getting in, especially public sales, airdrops, node sales, NFT mints, private sales, etc., join me on my Discord. Our Discord community is more than 35,000 members strong now. Discord.gg/virtualbacon. You can also find the link in the description. Completely free VIP program. You just have to join one of our partnered links, partnered exchange, and then you have all the access. And I'll also post public announcements as well, and public chats as well. So you can take advantage of that if you want a community to participate with in this bull market. Okay, that's it. Thank you guys for joining, and subscribe to the channel if you like this content. Share this video with a friend if you found it helpful, and I will see you on the next video and next live stream.